Disclaimer: the information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GANs processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
Yes, we have an interesting couple of questions left here. From off script in the YouTube, it says, "Good day, Mr. Keshe. Is a plasma in control of itself in space, or is it controlled by the environment it's within? During transmutation, the control point felt external, but internal at the same time."
Yes, it's got both characteristics. Position of it, how much to give, how much take dictated by outside. But in what to give to create that position is decided by inside. This is how we use it for the flight system. It's as simple as that. Any other question?
Okay, that question is a segue to David's question in the webinar chat here. It says, "Do we live in a spirit-matter duality, or is there no matter at all? Does the tangible universe just appear as solid matter to us, when in reality everything is just spirit?"
The only answer you can give to this, which is actually scientific, is the matter state itself is a part of magnetic field spectrum. If you understand, let's say this spectrum of magnetic fields has, let's say, energy level between 5 and 20, to you is matter state. But if I'm made of, let's say, 50, I can go through this 5 and 20 with the ease. For me, it's not a matter state. So is the matter state to you reality because it's your physicality, and does it exist to me, which I still have no interaction with to confirm the existence of, because the energy I carry is above that level that you manifest yourself physicality. To say in English, the birds of the same feather fly together. This is the same. If you are of that type of feather, that's what you see. If you're not, you don't see. In a way, you exist, but it's a matter of getting what I call, explain this to a child. Maybe you understand it's easier. You get one of these sugar sticks and try to punch it through ice. Doesn't go through. It's got manifestation of it. You get the same sugar stick and punch it through a cup of tea or a water. It just goes right through. It's the same water. You create a combination of it. You made it in a way blocking the field strength up, and then you use other water. You can apply to it. It's on the you empty the same cup, but leave some vapor of that water in there, and you just go through it. That don't even have the resistance of the water. Where is that H2O? It depends what environment you created and what you observe with that environment. It's the same. Is magnetic field strength dependent on if it is a matter state, and you are in a matter state, you expect to see the matter state, but something has gone through. We had this very recently, very recently, that we had this now a couple of occasions where material goes through the body and still stays the same. Physicality feels it, but cannot and will not stay. It's like a bullet going through you, but you have no bleeding, nothing happens, and you just feel a little bit of pain because of energy transfer. And this is a reality. We have had it in tests. We've seen it. And it happens in our hand. It's not somebody reporting it. So we package the matter in the energy field, which can go through the body and does not exist. But the body is there. But because it goes through in certain physicality interactions, leaves something like a pain and then disappears. We still have the man without any injuries, and we still have our pieces intact together as a material. So it's matter, energy, strength dependent. In in olden days, they used to throw like a rope to catch a bird or whatever, and then pull it, or you tow the ship with a bar or with a rope. Now we can throw the rope through the ship on the end of it, and still have a rope, but doesn't show any harm to the ship. And we understand the process. And this has happened to us in the very recent past a couple of times. Materials can go through bodies, but because they are in a plasma and state condition wrapped, they're at the state that the plasma, they go through the body. They don't stay in the body. But because in that transition, like the light, they hit to each other and you see the light, there is something as a pain, and the pain disappears on its own. In a way, a bullet which doesn't kill if you look at it that way.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 574th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, January 23rd, 2025. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation, Spaceship Institute Education Department, and part of the Public Teachings in English. My name's Rick Cremond, and I will be host once again in this wonderful weekly series of workshops that's been ongoing for over 11 years now. We just did the calculation a few minutes ago, and I think we missed our 11-year anniversary a couple of workshops ago. So in a way, perhaps we can celebrate today. Welcome, Mr. Keshe, to today's workshop. Are you ready to begin?
Yes, thank you very much. Good morning, good day to you, or good afternoon, good day to you. As usual, wherever and whenever you listen to this series of knowledge seekers from Keshe Foundation, the Spaceship Institute, we welcome you back. And as usual, we try to share more knowledge and somehow understand more about ourselves. What is important is many of you look at these Friday sessions with us as something that a few knowledge seekers do. And these few knowledge seekers bring us a lot of knowledge. And the system, we monitor the way they transfer their energies, the way they transmute their energies, and brings us huge amounts of knowledge, vast amounts of knowledge in how us, even as human beings, are controlled. What we see in a very direct way, how for the first time our brain is structured, how we receive energy. Why do we receive energy
Wie
from...
erhalten wir Energie?
Thank you, German.
Warum erhalten wir
Excuse
Energie?
me, can you switch
Andreas,
your microphone?
you're in your other alias or something there, and I have to bring you in as interpreter.
Danke.
Just a second here. Just a second.
Let me go
Okay,
ahead.
should be good there now. Just
Okay.
make sure he can record. Yes, I think we're good.
Okay.
Okay, sorry,
Thanks
Mr.
very much. Don't worry. So what it is we have to analyze how we receive energy and how the energy is distributed and how sometimes overflow of energy pushes barriers in our understanding, in our emotion. We've seen the doctors with all the electronics of today, they tell us this part of the brain is for this job and this part of the brain is for this job and this goes here and nerve system takes you there. Now with this new technology, we're looking at the energy which we receive, different than the communication side of the brain which we considered. In the last Friday session, we had some of the most amazing experiences observed that you as knowledge seekers have gone through, and it's opened up a huge Pandora box of questions, understanding, and what's next question for us. I would like to share some pictures as we've done before with you to see how groups of knowledge seekers have managed to achieve some amazing, what we call conditions, positions, and they achieve certain parameters that it brings us to understand more the functionality of the brain.
Recording in progress.
What this means is that I share with you to understand, because it comes to part of the teaching which we have to, in the coming days and months, literally analyze. We have no choice, because it seems and it works as it has done, and it will bring changes in our understanding of the totality of the work and in how we understand our works, how energy is transferred in us. One of the groups on last Friday has achieved, in a way, a full transmission, or transmutation, you call it. And this group is, we know them, we know their behavior, and it brings us an amazing data for what these people do. If you look at this picture and you monitor this area, this is about 2 minutes, and then it repeats itself in a very short term here. This is area of the blue is what I call a panic time. When the soul goes, you are aware of it, and then you panic, physicality takes over, and then no, it's okay, you go back on. But what is interesting is to see this, how the soul of the man, the energy of the man, has on the same side overtaken the physicality and the soul of physicality, which means the soul has transmuted and has taken the physical condition. And when we receive reports from some of the people who've been in these sessions, confirms the correctness. They physically see themselves in the condition. They see themselves as light. And what is important for us in this research is to find out, in a way, where does this go to? How far can we push the boundaries of the knowledge? And in that process, we've seen amazing things, which explains why we as humans behave in a very, very strange way when it comes to our social behavior, to our addictions, to our emotions, and to many other things. I'll bring you some pictures that you can see. If you look here, we are dealing with what we call energy from the space, the universe. Here, we are looking at the energy from the soul of the man. And here, we are dealing with the physicality of the man. But what is interesting for us in this pattern, and we show you pictures and pictures of it, that is very interesting. The physicality bypasses the soul to feed what we call the energy, universal energy, bypasses the soul to receive or to give energy, and then it feeds back to the soul. Which goes back to what we said, we take 80% of energy from our environment. We don't need even to go through the soul. And this repeats itself in a way in another picture. This is every 2 or 4 minutes as we take pictures, and we see the continuation of the same thing. But what is interesting is this picture. This picture is opposite to what we had before. The energy comes from the left side of the body of the man, the left side of the soul. What is in the space of us? It comes to what we call the soul, interacts and stays with the soul. Soul does not share anything from this with the physicality the way we saw in the past, which means I hold on to what I have. Where when we saw the energy coming from the other side, which is on the right side, it feeds to the left side, which is part of the structure of the emotion of the man, and feeds it. So in a way, one side of our brain feeds our soul, one side of the brain, through soul, feeds our physicality with the emotion, with understanding. But what is interesting is that soul does not share with the physicality, even if you remember last time or the time before, when we saw here, we had 3 layers, like a magraphs. Here, the third magraph, the third dimension of the energy, actually sits with the universal energy. This is when we feed, and at certain points, we change. And this, we've seen this on a graph, we've seen it on observation of the team. But interesting point for us is this happens. This condition, now we know exactly when it happens. For this group, we shut down them sharing to us. We stopped. If you've been in the sessions, we can control. If you cannot speak, you cannot speak, or we block ourselves that you can't receive. We see what we receive from you. In this condition, this group has just received energy. They were blocked from giving, sharing, where in the other condition, as we saw here, the body shares. The microphones were open, both sides. This explains a lot of things. In a way, even our death, end of physical life, is dictated by the energy we receive from which side. Because if you look at this side, I'm not sharing, I'm not supplying. I'm holding. I increase the elevation of the soul of the man. So I take energy because our emotion goes through the right side of the brain to the left side of the body. That's where our emotions is. That's where heart is. So it brings that condition of emotion. Position of the heart is one of the most important criteria in transfer of emotion. Then we come to understand more about dimension of physicality. If you look in another structure, how even the body transfers energy through the soul, it sits within the structure of the soul. In a way, if you look at it, is an arrow through the system. Then it comes to the point of when we are asleep, is the left side of the brain on the what they call recovery condition or closed that the soul can travel? And do we get that information from it is what is from outside. And then would it be the right side of the brain when we dream is where it stocks in the soul, and it's a physical dream. It's to do between the soul of physicality and the physicality of the man. And is this the first phase of the sleep or second phase of the sleep? Or does it happen in the third quarter or the fourth quarter? This has, especially last week, test has opened a new bag of worms for research and development and understanding. But what comes out of this is the response of the people who've been through the session. We see people of the same group tell us the same thing. People of the group which we played different way with, or we fed different way with, they tell us the same thing, but it's exclusivity of that group. They lost all their pains. They have no connection with the loss, with the pain, is as did not exist. It does not exist. And especially when we look at the people in this group, there is no intention to eat. We collect data, we collect graphs, we collect numbers during the tests. And then when it comes from the feedback, we see how it fits, why we see these figures, why we see this behavior, why people talk in each group more or less the same. And strange enough, this group is the Chinese group. This group is the American group, or is this group the European group? If you are clever, if you understand it, if you've been through the system, if you felt the transmutation, you actually ended up somewhere, you tangibly feel something, then it means you're getting ready for the transmutation. You don't need connection to the system from the center. And many of you in these groups are becoming part of. You're traveling through the light. You see the light of your soul. We have nothing to do with it. It happens 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later. It happens the day after. It's not when you're connected, because you learn how to connect. But the most crucial part of the trial or understanding is how the soul behaves. You can see, if I can bring these two together. This is when you're from the left side, which we have seen all the time, we always fed, and this is when we block the phones. We are not feeding. We don't let you tell us how you feel. We want to give you the creator dimension. And you see what happens. How the fields stack so perfectly. And how they end. There is no connection. Here, you see there's a connection with the physicality. Here, there isn't. Because we share the emotion with the physical side. And the shape of this, if you look, changes. There's a dimension of change. If you look in this part, they change. Look at here. If I take this off and you bring it back in, you see the, I can do it this way that you can see. And then I go to the next picture and you can see the change. If I can slightly move it, it has a shape like this. And what is interesting is how it bypasses the soul. What this brings us is not what's the screen. What is interesting to us is in the matter of space technology and transmutation is this. And where does this go? Where would this little bright light here will take me? Is it the grandmother or grandfather, or is this dot here the soul of the Mars? If you remember in the teachings of very recent past couple of weeks, I spoke about line, ray of a magnet. When we reach that knowledge, how to choose, how to measure the ray of a plasma, That little metal, when you put an iron on top of the magnet and you see lines, the field strength of that line connects you to the dimension of every single spot. Every single spot you see on this screen is an end connection to another entity. It's not just a blow of blue light. When you look at what we call these here, these, every single dot is a cell of your soul. It's a cell of your brain which receives the energy. And every dot you see at this end is one of the cells of your body which receives the energy. It comes to the point where I'm sure in the future, in the near future, as this technology builds up, we do more research and the others do more research, is to assess the point of death at this point. Or from this point in the womb of the mother, decide if the child has a soul. We have a being. There is no discussion anymore. When is the fetus alive? When does he have a soul? You monitor the way we do ultrasonic wave to confirm the existence and the shape of the child in the womb of the mother. In the coming time, through understanding this technology, we can confirm the soul of the child. Does this fetus has created a soul? That there is no discussion, there is a time for anything else or whatever. And the most important thing is that would we, as the race, in understanding it, be able to place inputs into this soul, into this environment, that we elevate the soul, that at birth does not kill, does not destroy, has reached the elevation of the maturity in the womb of the mother. These few dots, if you were a scientist like me, has a huge implication, and a lot of things that the future of the man will depend on. We see how a child has a physical disabilities in the womb of the mother, which can lead to problems at birth. How do we elevate the soul to correct? How do we need to elevate the soul of the mother to change the environment of the womb that changes the soul of the child? The science of today interferes physically. We need injections, we need operations. The scientists of the future interact with the soul of the man. And with that change of soul will change the man. This is the history of the children of the Mitra. This is what we as humans will see. What happens in the coming time, I'm sure, as I'm so curious and I'm so adventurous, in a very near time, we will test the existence of two souls. In a way, the soul of the mother and the soul of the fetus. Would we get this? In the other hand, in the near future, as we are on track, we're working in the evolution in science and technology comes, is what happened when we put two beautiful people in one body. What would you see? And is it schizophrenic, you call it, or what I call beautiful people? Or is it the psychological problem? Then we see the two souls. in one body, sharing themselves in a dimension of physicality to one. The way we are going and the way Keshe Foundation will evolve in the coming months and years, a lot of mysteries, a lot of things which you never understood in the dimension of physicality will be answered through the energy field forces of the soul of the man and the creator. We will have an answer to where this dot is, what is its function, and why is my soul connected to it that I see the other end. What is interesting, when you see the dynamic graph, it's not like this. The dynamic graph is, in a way, moves. It has a motion and we follow it, how it is and where it goes. Then we see the real characteristics of the soul. Would it come the time that, like today, when you're born, we take a shape at the point of your, what I call perfection as a child, of your soul and its behavior. And in a few years' time, when you're sick or something happens, we see the shape of the soul has changed slightly in a different way. Would we be able to change it, that the soul goes back to its normal position and we don't see the disease which one is supposed to have? Or in a way, we create a blueprint that every few weeks, every few months, when we go through the system, we refresh the blueprint. No man can kill. No man can destroy. No man has the greed for possession of physicalities. Now you can see the future of mankind through the dimension of the creation and the creator, and not in the bricks, mortar, cars, food, and the physicality of them. I'm sure in the coming time, the way we want a perfect body, we do operations to have the perfect cheek and perfect hair and everything else, our future children will go through the process that everything is perfect, that they, as the children of the man, become perfect. But in a way, go back to Keshe Foundation and go back on the website of the Keshe Foundation, and we put the contracts with you that twice a year you go on the system. And for your health and your wealth and your wellness, or whatever you want to call it, this is what we do. Now I can explain to you, after 2 years, putting those contracts up that you people have taken, what it means. We don't fix your physicality. You fix your energy balance field, what do you call your souls and interaction with yourself and the environment. Correction. This new technologies, these new understanding of the energy fields of the man in respect to his universe, to his environment, and how we react, will bring changes to us. We become trained to observe and understand this. I don't need to stew in front of me and say, have you eaten the grapes? And you say, no. I put the system on. The soul tells me he's lying. He ate the grapes. In so many ways, the new energy system structures, which does not look at the physicality of the man, but looks at the dimension of interaction of the fields of the man with himself, with his own physicality, and in a way, with its own space and with its own creator will bring a new dimension to man. I am the man of the God. I am holy. Oh my God. If you're holy, I'm goalie. You're a thief, you're a murderer, you hide everything else, and the system can show. Why this is important? Because this becomes part of us as part of transmutation. We see another field which, in so many ways, let's say, is this field. Is it hostile to me? Can I give to it? Can I take from it in a direct mode? Or do I need to give to it? And in a way, which dot is in front of you? Then, at the same time, in the same way, it's the highway. If you look in this structure, what is very interesting is that all these souls go through one line and they spread. And all these come to a very tiny one and they spread. If you understand in the future, I explain, you can say which part of the energy is for the head, which energy for the stomach, and which of the energy where it's gone to. The same as in time we explain, is this the soul of the grandmother? Is this the soul of whatever? But the most important thing for you is, which we all have to face at the end of the cycle, is which one of its dots is where my soul is going to end. If you look at this picture, just this picture, I can count, tell you how many people were in the groups, and from the picture, I can tell you which one of them is connected to their soul destination. Do you want to see? Do you want to understand? Have a look. Those of you who are in that group, this is destination of one of your souls. This is destination of another your soul. When you die, when you're finished with this physicality, this is where you're brightest. You're already nesting. It's not just is a bright spot. It's not just another dot. Because when you look at this is the position of your soul, which is sitting here. And you see the interaction of, and then you see the interaction of your physicality. If you notice, all of your body has all the pictures we show, we take. I explain to you to understand more, because we are one structure as a Keshe Foundation. This is your testicles, your production, where the soul of your children sit. This strong position is where your thyroid gland is, where the physical body and the heart sit. If you notice, there is no connection, loop connection, in this side, where it is in this side. where the physicality creates through the emotion of the soul the diseases of the man. Then, in the future, you don't need injections. You do not need operations. Physical damages even can be sorted through the energy fields of the body of the man. You go to the soul of the man. You feed the soul of the man, and with it, it feeds the physicality where the problem is to correct. In so many ways, you will learn in the coming time which one of these you need to take to become the energy that the physicality does not need to eat another soul to create, to live, and to exist. This is not the created data. This is you lot who sat last Friday in the system. And it's very, very strange how most of you, most of the pictures, most of the graphs ends up in a very, very clear way of how man in a space will live and how man in a space will survive. When he transmutes and when he manifests itself. And as you can see, you can manifest, transmute, manifest. Very simple. It sits one after another. Understanding this, and we allowed this. We allowed emotions, feelings, physical condition, all to be interacted with in the session of the last week. And we've seen how people change, how people have changed, which part has changed, and the way they changed, and the way they wanted to change, or bring a change, or to see. And many of you, in your testimonials to us, speak about the light. Why do you see these lights? Why do you continuously living in this light? And how this light, with the interaction of this, literally your soul with the soul of the universe, brings that brightness, that light, that in a way like the daylight feeds you, this light feeds your soul. And if you understand how to do it, if you can achieve it, then you don't need the physicality dimension, or you can dictate when the physicality manifests itself in any dimension. These are the very first steps in the world of the science of the creation, energy transfers, understanding the process. And I'm sure in the coming weeks and months, we bring you more knowledge in a way that any of you can go through transmutation. But the problem is, we have to teach the souls, and the souls have to be there to learn that in the process of learning, they share. Once one enlightens that. And then it builds up to that process. And then when I pass away, the daughter of Mitra, which is amongst you, will take over. She's trained to take you to the depth of the universe and teach you the rules of the universe. My job is to take you to the universe. It's like going to a new country. A plane takes you there. But when you land, you need people to teach you how to live. What's the tradition and what's the rules? It's different number you took off. Where the soul left the physicality of the man. That's the job of the daughter of Mitra, and not mine. Even though I can teach you, but The love she carries as a woman is the love of the mother, which is the Mitra, a new land. She'll never speak, but spoken through the soul of the man. "2025 is that time of transition. And as we said, we change the humanity. We bring that change. No religious leader, no king, no president can affect the work which has started for the elevation of the soul of the man this year. Those of you who understand the transmutation through energy will still enjoy transportation through physicality, because each one has a different pleasure. And once you'll be able to mix these two together and be aware of both at the same time, is the time of the maturity to meet the Dr. Mitra. Then you mature to join the universal community, that every object is not edible, everything is not enemy, and everything else is not something to do with it, something. I keep my distance, you keep your distance, because in keeping distance, we respect each other's life. The combination of the fields of the universe interacting with the soul of the man, and the interaction of the field of the physicality and the soul of physicality of the man interacting with the universal community, will create a new dimension of understanding for the soul of the man. And then man learns how to change, how to be, and how to exist in both dimensions. In a way, we are ready to take that step, but we are ready to educate the man across the borders of the planet and not nations. And in that process, everything is set for man to bring that change, to accept the change, and to bring the change through the understanding the fields of the energies of the universe, and not through the greed of the man. Does not matter if it's knowledge, wealth, whatever it could be. I hope you have understood today what I have brought you in a way of knowledge. Again, but this time it's you who created this knowledge, not us. This, the yellow and the white, is the dimension of your physicality, and in a way, the blue is the dimension of your energy. And both have to coexist. Once you understand this, you have moved on to the next level of maturity of the man and the knowledge of the creation. Where, in a way, if you look at it, the yellow is the interaction between the soul of the man, the soul of physicality of the man, and the physicality of the man. The green is a total physicality because it's taken over, and the blue is where the soul of the man sits. No physicality. And all three can coexist, and it's the decision of this emotion of the man which decides which one manifests itself. When the emotion decides, I had enough, I'm ready, we call it death, and we leave the physicality. Because the emotion of the satisfaction of the completion of the journey to mature has completed. Every day, millions die by accident. But there's one question to ask. Is any of them accidental? or there has been a reason for a soul to be in a position for it to take a trip. We all can't stand or lie down and die, and that's it. Every soul decides the end itself. I like to die in a car accident, so I be in that position. I want to die jumping off a cliff. I want to die lying in a bed, waiting when my time, when I decide. In a way, the soul decides, physicality just follows. In so many ways, the question to ask is, are there any accidents in the world of creation? Go back to my teachings years ago, where I said the soul of that plant creates itself for you to eat, that through its, in a way, devotion to give to you, allows your soul to elevate to the next level. So that plant, that seed, which you chew, which you eat, has decided the path of it. It's not your decision. It's very much you take a spoon of rice from a plate, and one falls on the floor, and the rest you put in your mouth. What was the decision, or what was the accident, or what was the position that single one is going to take on its own? Because that grain on the floor, which by accident you thought you lost, become the feeder of the soul of the worm, something else, the next generation. Life, a bird eats. So he devotes his life. The man is taking so much, I want to feed something else, and the little bird comes and takes that seed. Now you understand how man has changed everything for him to think he's in control and in charge and he's the best, when in fact he is just one actor in a game of the actresses of the universe. I hope you understood the teaching of today, because this is about you and not anything else. This is about your field. This is you, members of the Keshe Foundation, who sat in that sessions of last week. Is not made by us. You were the creator of. And the only thing is, we were the observer. We took the pictures. You run on the street and somebody take a picture of you physically and says, this is what you were doing on the street. This is what you lot were doing last Thursday, last Friday, through the energy field of your soul. If I put pictures of you here and then connect the field strength of you, how many of you carry which field? Which dot belongs to which one of you? But the interesting thing is, how come you collectively all have the same pattern of the soul, according to the information and the energy you received from us to release? In a way, if you understand this, in the coming time, as I said in the February, March, and April session, we dictate to you in so many ways, and we block it, and we show it to you that where we want this soul to go to. And I'll show you the graph. One in the will of the man, and one in a way in the will of the creator. It's not controlling the mind, it's elevating the soul of the man. And the soul will decide the position, the time, and the place. We go for a break, we come back. And I hope I brought a lot of you a lot of joy with the teaching of today. And I brought you a lot of uncomfortness and not fear, to know what you are capable of and what is set there for you for the future. Break, take us for a break.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe. Okay, we'll take a few minutes here for a short break and to be back with the second half of the 574th Knowledge Seekers Workshop. People will have an opportunity, as usual, in the second part of our show to ask questions of Mr. Keshe, and you can put up your virtual hand and we'll be able to address your questions and open your microphone. Also, you can put questions in the webinar chat or in the Q&A or in the YouTube chat as well. Okay, let's be back shortly.
The new Vertical Enhancement Spaceship Unit. A plasma space technology to prepare humanity for transportation and transmutation in deep space. Essential processes are embedded to prevent mutations and psychosomatic conditions during deep space travel. This new system is designed to support upper body conditions, especially of the lungs and intestines, and can be targeted specifically for each organ. When inside the Vertical Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the body experiences balance in totality, enabling it to correct and rebalance all the fields within itself. The new Vertical Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a dimension in health and transportation never seen before.
Okay, we're back again at the 574th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, January 23rd, 2025. And I believe Mr. Keshe will have a few things to say before we begin our question period here. So go ahead, Mr. Keshe.
Very much. As we announced last week, The sessions for January, February, March, and April is already been advertised. It's been promoted, and we try to take a very few people in this session because we want to put you through transmutation, and we want to put you through what we call cycle of communication in transmutation time. What will be interesting is how you feel in the next sessions, and how many of you manage to understand the position of the soul of physicality and the soul of the man and transmutation of energies. And please, as we showed in the first session of the first part of this session, understand that it's you who decides. It's you who decides to go shopping, and it's you who decides where your soul goes, and nobody else. And this will be the way you were taught and the way you learn how to walk. Now you have to learn how to handle the energy fields, which you call it the soul of physicality, which is the energy of the life of you, within you, and controlled by you. And this will be one of the biggest problems for religious leaders. Once people start understanding how to walk with both in their hands, then there is no Jesus as your soul you've seen in the first part. Maybe one of those dots is connection to the Creator. Do you need somebody in between to tell you what? As you are more closer to them or to it than they could ever be. We'll answer a few questions and we'll see how we go, where we go, please.
Okay, thank you. We have a hand up here. Yes.
Hello, Rick. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Thank you, Rick. And Mr. Keshe, this is Mrs. Skandari. You may recognize my voice. My question is about this phenomenon that happens when we are sleeping and we wake up and then we feel that we cannot breathe. This happened to me several times, and what I did, wherever my hand is close to my skin, I try to pinch with my nails so hard, like a sensation of a needle. Or if it's near my head, it's even better. I just touch the scalp or scratch the scalp, and I go back to breathing again. And it's really a panicking situation. Like this happened to my aunt, and she says she rushes to the doctor because she gets so panicked. And I told her that if you didn't die and you were being able to go to see a doctor, then it's not a big deal. Anyways, my question is this phenomena is like transmutation that happens during the transmutation? And is this like this touching the skin is like when a baby is born and the baby cannot breathe, doctors tap on their bum so to stimulate them to breathe again. Actually, I was wondering how this one works. Is this touching the skin is like a stimulant to that or else? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Skandari. This is, in a way, medical world calls it insomnia. Or when you go to a position of what you call, that has different reasons, 10 different, maybe 20 different reasons, that we go to a point that we cannot breathe. And this is the physical side, but the other half of the brain is active. So it comes to help. It has to come back. It's like when somebody, you're asleep, suddenly bangs a door or drops something and you wake up and you find you need the time to find out where you are. In fact, that break of a glass has given you that touch you do to your body. But this, you're falling asleep. Some people, they say the little bit dangling in the back of your throat blocks the, what do you call, the pipe, the breathing pipe. When you go, they say over size of 17 inches around your neck, the fat or the muscle tissue blocks it, and it has different reasons. So sometimes the roof of your mouth loosens in a way that you snore, but in a way it loosens in a way that actually closes the breathing pipe. It has different reasons. Or in a way, psychologically or physically, our breathing cycle goes through emotional trap that it cannot go through the next phase. It's just like a stoppage in the system. And this is why, as I said, always we have two halves. The half which is in charge cannot do it till the other side is here. So you wake up, you come back to breathe. The touching or whatever you do, or confirmation of hurting yourself, or some people actually go to panic, is the physical reaction. And it's very, very common. Especially people which are overweight, or people who are extremely tired, or people who over time the operation of the back of the throat with the, what we call, little thingy dangling in the back of your mouth blocks the breathing channel. And this is it's a natural phenomenon. It's called part of people, there's got a name for it in older medicine, that you jump out of the sleep, but in a way the half which is responsible for the physicality is there to, in a way, wake up the side which is supposed to be physically on rest, and then you wake up because the energy which you need, the breathing cycle breaks up. So a lot of people with insomnia have this problem. They wake up and can't go to sleep out of the panic, and they become insomniac. Majority, huge number of people, because they're afraid to go back to sleep, that this function in the body might occur again. Fear of death. They stay awake all the time, and then this repeats itself. Usually comes with the age, and usually comes with the business of the of what you call it, the brain, more than the physical body. Body forgets that it's got a physical part it needs to operate.
Is this why doctors touch the babies when they were born and they cannot breathe? They touch their bum or something?
That's a different thing. That's
Different
a different
thing?
phenomenon. That's a different phenomenon.
Okay.
That's
Okay,
a
I
different
was just
phenomenon.
wondering.
That's a conversion, because that because we come from a world of liquid into the world of air, gas, and that's touching, that's emotion, that whatever is to switch over from liquid to gaseous system.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Okay, we've got several other questions here from Filippo in the YouTube chat. Good evening, Mr. Keshe. My question: to release the plasma fields, we need to create a weakened environment inside the reactor. How to achieve this? Thanks so much.
Can you repeat?
The question is to release the plasma fields, we need to create a weakened environment inside the reactor. How to achieve this?
Ooh, there are a number of ways. There are a number of ways. There are ways to create another fields in the system, remote from outside. We see that in the galaxies and the position of galaxies. It's very, very technical. You have to know what you do. Then there is a position of understanding to create a physical obstruction of the field. And again, this needs knowledge of the full knowledge of creation of black holes and creation of magnetic field absorption. You cannot weaken unless you create a condition that you absorb, that it gives to you that you're weaker than in your own environment. We do this in our systems, and in that position is where you absorb energy. Tesla understood this fully, and those who built the churches centuries ago understood this. This art is forgotten deliberately. The Vatican has been behind it because the structure of the churches, not the mosques. Mosques don't carry this. This is a Eastern, as I would call it, Western knowledge. And it comes through, doesn't come through Christianity. It comes through the old age understanding of the creation and absorption of energy and reduction in energy that allows you to create a condition of absorption. In fact, what the question you're asking during the break, while Rick was doing the promotions, I was discussing with our technicians on the what they call on the line, because we create it, but you have to know how to create it. You cannot take to weaken. You have to create a condition to be given to weaken that. In that weakness, it creates the turbulence. Understand the work of the hurricanes and how the center of the hurricanes work, and change the fields with what do you call it, the rain and whatever, the storms with magnetic field. You see it very, very clearly, because at the end of every center of tornado sits a field. And because we don't understand it in two ways, we see that we say thunder hits the ground, but in fact the field creates a lower field energy that it pulls in what is being given to be coming in. And this is the what do you call it, the understanding of the science of it, as the thunder is created from earth up, not from this cloud down. And this creates through the changes in the magnetic field dimension through other interactions. In a way, the earth sets a trap and it sends seed out, and then the thunder is the one which comes to crack the trap, if you look at it that way. And because earth has a dynamic magnetic field, is thing in a certain position and certain condition leads to what we call massive creation of this dynamic lower fields, higher fields interaction. And this is something very energy-wise It's very, very easy to understand. Very easy to understand. And we create that condition inside us. We can create that condition inside the system. But we have to understand the properties, the interaction of the fields, and how a combination of materials, gases, fields can give us the same position. Rule is you can't take. You have to create a condition to be given, and then the system works. If I can explain it to you, when you see a water kettle boiling and you see those bubbles, you have to create that bubbles by magnetic fields, not by heat. And then you create that condition. But you have to understand how those bubbles are created through interaction of the fields and not to be forced on the fields. Any other question?
Okay, thank you for that. We have a comment from Joy in the YouTube. It says, I was lying under a pyramid structure with the maggrav in the room, and I lifted. So we have...
Well, it's possible. Depends how you make your pyramid and understanding it, and by accident or truly you reach that point. We did that with John a few times. But you have to understand how to do it. Any other question?
Okay, Malcolm from Ireland is asking, Mr. Keshe, is the cosmic ray ball specifically for the transmutation, or has it many uses? And can a person use it to balance others, or is it again specifically for one person's for one person?
We would like it. We advise you to use it for one person. You can use it in combination with two of them, and it has huge applications and implications. Depends how you use the interaction of the field of it, how you position it, where you position it. On their own, when I was explaining this very recently. When you hold a magnet in your hand, you don't feel anything. It's just a metal. When you bring another magnet to it, or a metal to it, you know this is a magnet. This is a plasmatic magnet. And they're connected, especially when you put two of them together, one in one ear, what we do now for some people, one in one side of the ear headset and one to the other side of the headset. Or in the hand units, they want to put the what they call it, cosmic ray bundles. They is like what the graphs I showed you. In a physical life, you're all on the phone, all over the world, you're connected to a center. But because we can physically, graphically, dimensionally show it with energy, then it'll be the same with those in your hand. You see your aura changes, your dimension of the field changes. And these are especially done very subtle. If you receive a huge amount of energy, then there are what you call energies which you have to let go instead of. These are tuned in such a law that it fits into the emotion of the man. And then you will see it, you will understand. And if you're not of the same bandwidth, change the balls from one hand to another. Leave the balls in two different places and then pick them up again, because you cannot match into the field of it. They're too much or too little. in what you need to be. And then when you match, magic touches. There are many, many uses of soil. Any other question? These, by the way, these both in next, hopefully, week, 2 weeks, you should see them start flowing out from the Keshe Foundation and delivered. Any other question?
Yes, we have a couple of hands up here. Azar, would you like to go first, please?
Good morning, Mr. Keshe. Good afternoon, and hi, Rick. I have a question. I know for sure that nothing is an accident, and everything has a reason, and none of the thing in our life is an accident. But my question is, why a soul decide to die in a car accident, someone else in a bombing accident, or someone else in a bed? Why?
The third decision.
But why?
Why? That's the decision the soul makes.
I mean, what's the purpose of it?
They have their purpose. As I showed you in the graphs, they have a connection, and there is a pattern to complete the cycle.
Is it something to do with the creator?
No, it's to do with the balances of the fields of the creation. It is, in a way, the position of our soul is not fixed at the point of birth. The position of the soul is an amalgamation of how we interact, how we mature it to reach the point of what I call maturity. Why? I have a very cynical point of view, which I put on to you, then you might understand, but it's a very cynical way to put it, but in a way, it's a truth about it. The humanity has committed so much crime that it's like a cup. It needs 100 ml cup. It needs 100 milliliters of water to fill up. As you can say, it's full. I can empty it. The race of the man has committed so much crime, especially in the recent past, that cup, it takes longer to fill it. So man lives longer. They tell us the life span is increasing because of the blah, 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 blah. I don't look at it that way. Looking at the energy level, we do so many wrong things that to live that balance of ready to go takes longer. It doesn't mean that the child which is born and dies is pure or whatever. But one of the reasons for man extension of life is that we haven't done enough saving on the energy side, on the soul elevation. We rub, we steal, we do this, we do that. So as you're taking, it's emptied and emptied, you have to fill it up. And maybe the time to fill it up is idleness. That's why we become old, 20, 30 years in bedridden, or we can't do anything because we can't do any harm that the soul, that energy gathers to be there to go. But this is not far from the truth if you understand how the system works.
And Mr. Keshe, one thing I cannot wrap my head around it is, I was watching a series about Prophet Yusuf. His father was Yaqub. And this man, from childhood, he went through so many things, from going to putting into the well and then putting in a prison. And every aspect of his life, he welcomed it. He never saw it as a suffering, every single part of it. And I was stunned to see how, like, we look at life as everything aspect of life, we see suffering, but in fact, who could name these things suffering when in fact, with the way he went about it, he changed millions and millions of people's lives at that time. And his intention was never about putting a penny in my hand or I have a comfortable life. It was and I said to myself, why we look at life as if we're sitting in a castle or having a servant or having a Mercedes or this or going to it, you see that's a pleasant life, but going to a prison or any accident happen to our life, even we hear about someone else's life, something happened, we see it as a bad thing. What creates this bad and good? In fact, when I look at it, I saw it was a maturation of him to be able to do what he could do at the end, which was benefited the all. But what happens in our life, we never think about it. That's the maturation of us, the process we're going to maturation to give fruits. Why is it that we look at life like this? We never look at life is the events that gives us more at the end. What has gone wrong here? Because
nothing has gone wrong. We just look at the wrong end of the stick, as we say in English. Nothing has gone wrong. Nothing has gone wrong. It's just that expectation and wanting. In the past 24 hours, one of the most horrendous things which could happen to Keshe Foundation has happened. We could even not imagine such a thing is possible. And I sat with the knowledge seekers, we looked, and I said, let's sleep over it, why it happened. If it was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, would have created outrage and a lot of stress. And this morning and throughout the day today, I looked at it as a blessing. Yesterday, it was the most horrible thing which could happen. Everything went wrong. But in fact, the soul of you knowledge seekers, the soul of the technology itself as whole, wanted nothing to do or wanted the cut off this line of what was involved. And I rejoiced it. In a way, others see it as this can be a big disaster. I see it as one of the most powerful things which happened to the Keshe Foundation, and it happened at this time. It's how we perceive, how we observe, and how we see things. If it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it would have been a totally different approach than where we are today. We are much stronger from the knowledge. We are much stronger from point of understanding. And we don't need millions. We need a very few to change, to bring that change. And that change has started to come. And it's a perception to our knowledge seekers. We could say it was the end of the world last night. Working 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and trying to understand why and how. And I said, let's go home. Let's go sleep. Let's just pack it up and we'll talk in the morning. We'll see what comes up. And to our knowledge seekers, this is horrendous. This is something which brings an end to a lot of things, but actually it's the beginning of something huge. And it keeps the foundation independent. It keeps the foundation away from all the elements that could be in a future attack to it and touch with it. What is it? Do we need lose sleep on it? Do we call it as a horrible time? Went wrong? Actually, it went so right. It should have gone that way. But in the process, because in his life cycle of getting to that point, has brought a lot of changes. So this is the suffering. Is it doing this and that? Is there? We can't do anything. It's just one of our knowledge seekers can tell you. He's on the line. Somebody claiming that we plan for Mr. Keshe to be arrested and want to be whatever in Toronto in 2010, 11, whatever. We organized it. What did it bring? And why do the people have to do these things? And they opened a new Pandora box for us.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
You look at it where we were in 2010, 11, now we are in 2024, 25. It is from the point of view of the observer in a way. Any other question?
Okay, thank you, Azar. We have a question from Claudia, sent by Telegram, who says, hello, Mr. Keshe. We were studying yesterday in the soul teaching about the angle, isotopes, and radiation from your teaching from the 442nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop. During our discussion, we explored the correlation between the radiation produced in our bodies and the angles associated with the lymph nodes and glands. You mentioned in another teaching that our tangibility exists due to the thymus, the gland in our chest, and the lymph nodes. My question is, how can we connect the concepts of angles, lymph nodes, radiation, and carbon-13 in the middle skin? Specifically, how can I control the tangibility of my body using this knowledge?
If you look at the brain of the man, how twisted and all these shapes you have, and if you look at the lymph nodes, and if you look at the thalamus and thymus, they are like in strings. These are like sausage bits which put together and packed into a place. This packing, as the fields of the structure is a dynamic plasma, creates certain interactions. And that interaction, it creates certain condition for certain fields. And those certain fields, one of the in the spectrum of is carbon-13 strength field plasma. Don't look at when we talk about the carbon-13 as a, what do you call, a material condition. Look at the carbon-13 as a field, as a dynamic plasma. So your lymph creates a field strength that matches that carbon-13. That's all it does. And once it's tapped into, depends who's stronger, who's weaker, it receives energy or it does. I was explaining this yesterday, the day before, to one of our knowledge seekers. Thymus and thalamus, especially with the radiation, they have their cutting boards, their cutting room. The sharp, they cut. It's like a laser cut of the fields of the plasma of the material, which is converted in shape of marrow, white cells, lymph itself. And then it's like you make it ready, cut to a certain size, but you don't know if this certain size of, let's say, a doll, they're all round the same shape. When it goes to your lymph, according to the structure of the lymph, decides if this doll is going to be poisson, if this doll is going to be bread, if this doll is going to be a, whatever you call it, pita bread or whatever. So the structure of the thalamus and thymus, because they're very connected, there's a very direct connection field-wise to them, is a cutting system. What you need emotionally, what does the physical, one does the physical job, one does the emotional side. This will cut the loaf of the bread to sizes. And that size has a specific link to certain lymph. And when it gets to that lymph, the lymph decides with a certain amount of modification due to the structure of the lymph itself, that this is the cell for the tip of the finger. This energy will go to the skin on the shoulder. This goes. So this is the lymph under your arm, deciding materials arrived. Now what I'm going to do with it. That's why we have lymph flow. We have all this, they call it lymph drainage and everything else. In a way, one cuts, one allocates. And this is the characteristic of the radiation and positioning. And it needs a lot of understanding to be able to manipulate it the right way. It needs a lot of understanding to be able to manipulate it. Any question?
Okay, thank you. We have a hand up and down with Jalal, but I think he's probably busy and he takes his hand back. Well, came back up again. Better allow him to talk here right away. Go ahead, Jalal.
Yes, thank you, Rick. Do you hear me okay?
Yes,
Perfect.
as usual. How many questions this time?
No questions, Mr. Keshe. Good day, Mr. Keshe. How are you?
Not too bad. You know what you wrote to me earlier this week?
Yeah?
You are so precisely correct.
Okay.
Go on, ask your question.
Okay. We can, in a way, for the last teaching, I remember there is an old teaching in the private where you taught how you can distinguish what kind of radiation you are getting by the distance gap between the neutrons. And because in that time we are working with the ganses, and we can see the difference in the creation of the amino acid in a way.
Yeah.
Can that give some clues about how we distinguish what kind of radiation we have?
Partially, yes. Maybe 30% of it. There are other factors involved in this.
Yes, of course. And you in a way, you explain how even you can...
see, you have a radiation. The universe is full of radiation. But you have to have inertia of the position to give that radiation with the interaction of its environment manifestation of physicality, which is the amino acid. You understand?
Yes.
So the amino acid on the surface of the GANs is dictated by the inertia of the liquid inside it. And not all the liquid inside of the gases are the same. So you produce different amino acids.
And that do not give us, in a way, what we have in our hand? What kind of neutrons, for example?
Let me explain to you. Let me just find it. If I find it, I show it, but I have to go and find it. Just 1 second. I go into the archives of the Keshe Foundation. Let me see if I can find it. I show you something which I think will explain to you. Sorry about this. It's a picture I'm looking for, which if I see it, let me see if I can find it in the picture archive. You see, in part of the creation of the inertia, the inertia of the liquid you create is not the same at the beginning of when you start producing the gas than somewhere at the end. There's different inertia because many factors. There we have found it. Okay. Let me do a very quick. I think I'm sure I've shown you this before, but give me a chance. Done. Save it. Now I go somewhere else and I share it with you. You, in all the gases you made, I'm sure you've never seen a gas like this. Amino acid. Can you see the color?
Yeah.
Do you know what this is?
I think I know.
Come on, we've shown this before, I think.
I think I have it here also.
Yeah, but what's this amino acid? This amino acid, this color, is because of the inertia inside it.
You are using 3 combination of...
No, this is the amino acid of nitrogen. It's one element, single element. This is why our planet is blue. We have 65% nitrogen in upper atmosphere. Why do our clouds have different colors? Why do we get the rainbow? Because of the inertia. You've never seen this building up a nitrogen gas. It's very difficult. It's not easy. And when you make it, this is the color top of the amino acid of it.
Mr. Keshe, I have the same color with the alloy.
This is the typical structure of the amino acid of nitrogen. It's the color of the planet. But what have you created with the alloy? Nitrogen. You understand?
Yes, yes.
So the shape of it, if you understand this, and one day as a scientist you break through layer of this, what you see as different colors is like different clouds in different levels on the surface of the water. You understand?
Yes.
It's like you flying over the clouds, you see the clouds. But if you break into it, and then this will give you a lot of understanding in how to produce materials, convert them, and everything else into what it comes. Because this is in the plasma condition, it's not in the matter condition, even though we see it in the matter condition like physicality of the matter. It's a when you fly next time and the plane is over the clouds and the way it goes through it and the shape of them and everything else, don't look at them clouds. Look how the magnetic field of this structure interacts with the Earth magnetic field in the plasmatic condition that gives it this altitude, this behavior, and this structure. If you understand this, then you understand, like for hurricanes and typhoons, how come they come with this structure and a certain path, and because the magnetic field of the Earth and the position in respect to the field absorbed from the sun and the moon creates this flow, and it comes in a certain way when the fields are. Typhoons don't come by the weather of the planet. Typhoon comes with the interaction of the field of the sun and the Earth, which these are in the middle. That's what you get. Because in the liquid state, the what you call the oxygen is the magnetic field, is the magnet of the thing. So it interacts as part of the water drops or whatever with the two structures, and this is what you get at hurricanes and the rest of it. If you change the structure of the fields in the southern hemisphere in a certain point, you never have the hurricanes. If you can put 3 ships in a specific condition that changes the magnetic fields, you'll never have the hurricanes.
So easy.
Yeah, because we created it in North China. We know how. In 2023, we didn't take pictures. Pictures were taken by the military. How easily we can manipulate the atmosphere through plasmatic field. You don't need that much. And I've given 2, 3 knowledge seekers opportunity to develop this, but they got lost in the process. They said they can create conditions, and we gave them chance even in China, and nothing can happen because the knowledge is, they don't have the right knowledge. And you create this, you don't need to do much. You just need to create a tiny little spot. If you look at the black hole in any seed of any atom, there's always a black hole. If you look at it, so tiny, but it gets such a thing going for hundreds of years. It's the same with the structure of creating black holes and affecting the oxygen level of the environment. But you have to know what you do and how you do it. When we did the test, we did tests with the knowledge seekers in China. But 3 times we've done this. The last time we did, in a specific way, it created havoc in Beijing. Just go and look at the weather in Beijing in 2023. So many people, so much destruction just within the city. They couldn't do it. And I was told, can you switch off the machine? Are you testing? And he stopped. Because the environment we were testing, there was nothing. We were creating the central black hole. And 2-3 weeks before, we did it in North China. And 2 months before, we did it north of Beijing. One could be coincidental, two could be incidental, but not all the time. Because you interfere with the magnetic field of the magnet of the gaseous plasma condition, which is the high oxygen. But it has a specific way to do it.
Who is better than you to do it?
No, it's a condition which we had to do. Let's see if I can find the pictures of it. I'll share with you because these pictures were taken by Chinese military, reporting to their bosses. I have to go back. They took the pictures, and the funny thing is, we created that when we were going to the place in the north of China, with the generals, military people, and security people. It was drought. It was absolute drought. There was no rain. Rivers were more or less dry dead. And after we started the first night, more or less, we started the setting up of creating the what they call it, the condition which was agreed by the military and the government. The system start rained on heavily. So it was drought, and suddenly once the system started going, and the officers and military people start taking pictures from the skies. And funny enough, after about 2-3 days, the rain got so bad that they told us, don't go up, but generals decided we go. It was convoy of 3, 4, or 5 cars. And we got to stop at a point. They were putting a transformer up on a wall. And general turned around to me and said, this is what you have caused. The storm you caused, you created, has blown up the transformers, and now we are changing it, but we accept the expenses. And we literally had to get off our cars, walk across when the cranes were there, replacing the same transformers which we blew up further up to the conditions we created. And another set of cars picked up on the other side of the traffic to take us back to the test zone. And I have to find another picture of it. And then you can see we create, but you have to know what you're doing. And it was something we were expecting. The skies, was just setting up the test, were clear. And a few hours later, the military officers sent pictures that the horizon is totally, the people in the area never seen a storm like this. It's never been seen, which we know as part of our structure. We create this because now we became an expert on it. We knew that the consequence of doing such a thing is creating, but understanding the logic, which is through the magnetic fields of the, what you call, the condition. And it changes within a few hours. Very, very few hours. I'm trying to look for it, and I found one of the pictures. Let me see. Find out one in the next couple of seconds, otherwise we stop. Show you. And by the time we were leaving, The rivers which were dry when we came in on a Saturday or so were literally flooded. So much rain was created. Because you can do, with the knowledge is there, you can, with something we learned, we didn't set out to do, it happened. And we learned these other conditions which creates these conditions. I cannot find it. Well, I cannot find the pictures from the military data pictures of it.
Recording in progress.
You see, this is how we started in a nice sunny afternoon. And this is in the North China. These are the Chinese. We set up the system in the open. It rained so much that by the evening we had to stop the next day. And the whole horizon, the people, the village people around there, the people in Taiwan, they've never seen such a thing. And we just set up the condition for, and creates that condition. And you don't need much. Some things we set out to do, some things we learn by effect and the conditions which created. And we repeated the same thing in a small room in central Beijing. Just go and look at the reports and Beijing floods in summer of 2023. Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Jalal. We have a couple of questions in the Q&A, and we have a hand up again with Eskandari, so let's allow them to go first.
Hello again, and thanks for the opportunity. Mr. Keshe, I want to take the opportunity to ask this question I had since my childhood. When I was a kid, I was most of the time playing in our backyard or front yard, and I really enjoyed being outside. And then one time I had this thought in my mind. I was looking at the ground and I told myself, I am not from here. And then I looked at the sky and I said, I am from somewhere there, but I was wondering how. And then in one of the workshops, you answered my question that our soul is connected to the universe and our physicality is connected to the earth. So this answered my question. But another day, again, I don't know why, in this certain spot in our backyard, all these thoughts were coming to my mind. Then I had this feeling that my parents are someone else's, and they gave me to this family, so to my family, so they can raise me and take care of me. And then I could even had a vision of the man who was that I thought was my father. And I was so certain about that whenever I was upset or my mom or my parents said something, I was telling them for so like very confident about that. I told them, oh, I'm not your child, so you can say those things. And then my mom, this was making my mom laugh and say, oh, you look like your dad. so similar to your dad. You look like your dad, that it's like your dad gave birth to you. And she was laughing, but I couldn't understand why I had this feeling they were my actual parents. I was certain about that too, but I don't know why I had this feeling. Is there an explanation for that, or just a silly thought of a kid? Thank you.
I think a lot of us do this, and it happens to a lot of us. And sometimes some people ask this question and they end up to understand the parents are not real parents. I presume we all go through this thing. But it's something which we all do, because we don't get our way, whatever. But sometimes you actually, some people go through the process and actually find out the parents are not the parents. And then you have sometimes dilemma, and sometimes, okay, that's I know this is what it's been, so just carry on.
I have others. Sorry.
Nowadays it's very easy. You just do a blood test, and one of the first thing is that nowadays they can do a DNA check in more detail, but a lot of time you can stand back and just see it, because, for example, certain like O and O only gives one type of, a certain type of blood. And if your mom and dad are O, and I'm not one of those, hello, who's my mom and dad? You understand?
Yeah, I am O and my dad was O too.
Yeah, I know. but what I'm saying, if you have two O's, there's this, or you have an A and B, there is a certain outcome from A and B, even in divisions of it. In many, it's not just so straightforward. And then you ask yourself, hello, what's happening? I know this happened to people.
No, Mr. Keshe, I'm certain that I was their kid genetically. Yeah, I had other siblings, and this wouldn't happen in our family. But
yeah, but they could change you in the hospital, you know that.
No, I was given birth at home with my mom's aunts all time. Like, and now I'm certain about that, but I don't know why I had this feeling.
This comes to all of us. This is a natural feeling to all of us. It's part of what am I doing here. And sometimes when it's a terrible time or it's not the way we want to say, oh, you're not my mom and dad.
Like even my mom one time told me that I'm different from my other siblings, and I said, how? And she said, you're not jealous, you don't gossip, you try to help people. Then I realized that, oh, my siblings are jealous. I didn't know about that.
You never know. You never know.
Yeah.
Never know.
Yeah, but thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we have another hand up here with Vernon, but before we get to that, let's address the question in the Q&A from Cristiano or actually from Paulo from the Brazilian community. Goes, Mr. Keshe, as several of our organs were created and developed after the transmutation of the soul of the first human ancestors to Earth, would the transmutation of these organs, which are not part of the original human matrix, be more difficult because of their totally earthly nature? If so, could you transmute without them to make the process easier? Could the non-use of these organs, considering that the knowledge seekers learn to capture the other 20% of energy from the cosmic environment, atrophy its functioning? So could the non-use of these organs atrophy its functioning? How to activate and readapt these organs to be used again?
There's no way you can use it because we evolved. We have 3 or 4 bits like this. They tell us our tonsils is one of them. Our, what do you call it?
Appendix.
Appendix is another one. We have 2 or 3 pieces like this around our body. And I'm sure our body is producing a new ones for the evolution of the next ones. No, there is nothing you can do. It's part of you. You take the whole lot. And it comes with you as a whole lot, because even though they're not there needed, they still have some functionality. They're doing something because they get energy, they still do things. You have to take these things with a pinch of salt, that they have no function for it. Body still uses things which is used or is created.
They used to have something called junk DNA that they said had no use, and it was just all, you know, had no classification or any use. Now they're finding out that the junk DNA is actually quite important, and they just sort of misnamed it in the past.
Now there's a lot of this using the science of the man. Somebody made it, became popular, and then see no truth in it. I mean, there's just lack of knowledge. Ignorance creates things, and then other people follow it. It's like this, you heard about the flat earth people. They even went to the court and they won the case against the people who said the earth is spheric. And the flat people won the case, and they appealed and they won the case. Is the earth actually flat, or is it round? Do we see a flat sun? And they have a very good argument, which actually managed to get the judges going for them, is that man never been to the space, man never been to the moon, because the Americans cheat. And if you look, when the rockets go up in, what they call it, California, Florida, it goes up, and it stays to a certain level. And then when it comes out of the sight of the man, it falls in the ocean. Man never been above atmosphere. But what about the Chinese being there? Did the Chinese fall in? Did the Indians fall in? Did the Israelis fall in when I went to the moon? And it's very interesting how this hypocrisies come up, and they come up with the things because there's no answer to it. So they try to be correct. You have a dimension. We know the Earth is not circular, but even though they give us a shape of a circle, it's a bit bulged in the middle because of the pressure of the plasma. It's the shape of the plasma, but it's 3-dimensional. It's very much like the galaxy itself. Our galaxy is not spherical. It's a flat yolk of an egg, but we have the same with our planet. That's why it's a bigger diameter in the center. Just take this into a pinch of salt. Next. Are you there, Rick? Hello. Rick, are you there?
Oh, sorry, I meant to be talking here. Vernon, go ahead, please. Your microphone is open there now.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
How you doing, Rick? AKA Off Script. You may remember that. Hi, good day, Mr. Keshe. I had an opportunity to meet you in Lentz. I hold the banner of the first, what we're calling the black man to enter the Lentz system. I appreciate everything you're doing here. So I wanted to ask you a question, if we could go behind the veil a little bit. I had an occasion to transmute, and in this experience, I could say in contact with myself. This awareness, I call it, didn't come across as having an emotional energy. So I want to see if you can give us some insight. We talk often about the world of creation, what's happening in the world of the unmanifested, which definitely had a lot more awareness to what's happening here and the control that I didn't know that I possess. Could you give us some insight what's happening in the world of the uncreated?
Everything is created because everything is in it. It's just where it manifests itself. If you put the explanation in a certain way, everything which leads to a creation or manifestation is already in the door. It's not coming from somewhere else. It's just how it'll manifest itself in a certain given position. So the known and unknown, the unknown is there, but we don't understand the knowledge of it.
Mm-hmm.
So what is outside, what is inside is all positioned respectively. Because whatever is going to be, whatever is going to manifest itself today, next year, in a million years, all the fields to create is already here. It's how they interact in the future with each other that creates that position. And in that process, it could gain intelligence, or in a way, there is an intelligent life around us. We're not alone. There's a much bigger structure of intelligence around us, which goes through us as part of the creation of the solar system, as part of creation of the universe. And so unknown or known is just dependent on us. There's nothing outside which we do not know. But as we don't see it, we are not aware of it, we can call it unknown, but it's actually known in the bigger sphere or structure. Everything is in the pot.
Mm-hmm. Is that an energy as well, or something
Everything depends. It depends how, in what stage, and what the state you are.
Okay.
There is nothing hidden. It's just that we don't see it according to our, we don't understand it according to our, we don't comprehend it according to our whatever intelligence, understanding, vision. Life is very interesting. And the only way I can explain it, I explained it once before somewhere. You get an old man, a young man, and what do you call it? Different ages with a different vision, strength of seeing. You go into a park or you go somewhere, and the one who can see very well, it says, oh, look, there's a kite up there, or there's a drone up there. And the other one who has half of, oh yeah, I can see it. And the old man says, where, what, I cannot see. Is there a drone up there? But in fact, the drone is there. Is the strength and sight of the vision, and depending on the person.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And this is how the knowledge of the creator is, and the knowledge of man, understanding of the man is what we see. What's the instead of the vision is our intellect, is our understanding of it. But the drone is there and the kite is there. One who has the vision sees it. One tries to, and one is there. They're looking at the same thing. But say, what is there? One there? I say, yeah, it's there. No, I cannot see it. Is there anything? But in fact, one day, this man was that young man who can see the vision of it. We cloud ourselves with more and more problems, and our vision, our understanding gets worse and worse, and become more prejudiced about it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Really. Shall we call it a day? Or is there a couple of more questions?
Well, there is a couple more, but there always will be. We have Marinez with a hand up. Maybe we can allow her to speak.
Go ahead.
Good morning. Good day, Mr.
Good
Keshe.
evening.
Thank you, Rick. I have a question for lazy people, shortcut for transmutation, maybe. You said that God is, I run, so, is having, human beings are the only ones who have direct connection with God,
Who
or
said?
soul of the God. You said that.
Yes.
We are the only ones who have this capacity
Yes.
of directly connected to God.
Yes.
And
But we are not the only race. We are not the only race.
yes,
So,
doesn't matter.
yeah.
It's okay. It's very good. So if we, in some way, and in many different ways, culturally or religiously or whatever, can get connected to the soul of God, the soul of Creator, which is the lowest field, then we are in the lowest, humblest field. Then we are in transmutation at that moment.
We
In
are.
our soul.
Yes, but let me explain this because it has to be very clear. We are at all times in transmutation. As I said, our soul never sleeps. Sleeps is a pattern of physicality of the man. So our soul is always in motion, and in that motion is energy, we call it transmutation. And in that process is always on the move, even when we're awake, even when we're asleep, even we're just born and when even we die. And it's the soul of the man, if you consider it, is aware of and connected to in every dimension, somewhere, somehow, down to the origin, like everything else does. But being aware of its existence, being aware of, when we open the universal community, this question of creation and the created and God and the creator, they don't understand. It doesn't exist in the vocabulary of the universe. Man soon will understand. Because universal communities consider themselves as part of the same structure. Man has made this thing as a creator and God through the weaknesses which has been given to by his nature, by his DNA and everything else. Nowhere in the universe there is a belief in God and creator, because the understanding is we are part of it. We are in it. We are structure of it. But man has made this with these statues. And then we have come to it and we do it. It's like, it's very funny because I see it regularly and it makes me, in a way, aware of, I've said this before, how man has changed things and now is actually in it, the end of it. Anas, you're well aware with these things.
You're asking, well, it depends. It's just
You say
something in the
Amen.
heart.
Don't we say Amen?
Kind of, yes. Depends state of heart, depends
Doesn't matter.
tension only.
But whenever the priest says something, we say Amen. Doesn't matter. Most of the languages is said. Yeah? But do you know where the word Amen comes from? Amen was a statue. The greatest statue. And it said always, whatever you do at the end, my name will be. And what we say in the church, the guy says whatever he likes, and he says Amen. So we go back to our, what do you call it, the statue worshipping thing. We are still worshipping that statue, which was the strongest statue. Go and read about the literature of Amen.
Yes.
What does it mean? Does it bring anything else? No, we confirm what was put in us. We accepted it as this statue was the biggest and the greatest. That's how Amen has come into the religious world. We confirm that it's the last and the strongest. Actually, we're worshipping a statue, a god created by man. And this has been the belief of the man right across centuries. And in the recent past, we have changed these names of worshipping and whatever to Elvis Presley, John Lennon, and everything else. Short-term gods and everything else they do with. But the old statues, old gods, which came from a statue to reality, took their name with them. You look at all the religious beliefs, look at all their names, look at all the beliefs of their names, it goes back to a statue, a kind of belief in the weakness of the man. And this is what comes across again and again in the world of mankind, and we see it, and it doesn't exist in the universe.
But for example, giving glory to the gods in Arabic, Alhamdulillah, or glory to God in Christianity, it's the same thing. It depends the intention and the connection with the soul of the being there, which is created. Depends the intention.
It all goes back who makes money out of it. That all goes back. It's just very interesting to watch the inauguration of the Trump this week. And in his speech said, this country from now on is colorblind and is merit-based. He should have said it's colorblind and religious blind, and there is no merit in any of them. And it was interesting where his wife is not American, and the wife of the second man in charge is an Indian descent. It's the first time when you looked at one side, they're all whites, and when you look at the other side, there's so many blacks and whites and Indians, everybody mixed up in this process. So, as I said, God is nameless blind. God has no name, it's just understanding His beauty.
Maybe he has found out that with the intelligence artificial, the word is not the same anymore.
Maybe.
People are more intelligent, so.
But what is the question? What is the question which has to be answered one way? I know the answer, but it's for you to find out is, where did the word God come from? Was it another statue?
That's what you're here to tell us, the new way.
It's for man to find out.
For you to teach us.
It's for man to find out. But we chose names because it was something which, when a lot of people come here in the teaching and talk about this is written in Torah, this is in the holy book, this and that. But all these holy books are written by man to influence the others to get what they want. To what end comes to it. And they just put the names of the religion to it, and the ones who understood hid the knowledge in what I call mysticism.
When I said the creator, the soul of creator, the presence of creator, it's something I feel it in my heart and with the eyes which cry, with the feeling of somebody I want to be with, but it's so far to be with at the same time. This is the feeling I get sometimes, like in the middle of the night, in the quiet time, which I try to meditate and pray. And sometimes when I contact the soul of my parents in Tibetan Buddhist way, I feel their presence the same way almost. When they are there, I feel it. So
Because they're
God is
always
not
present.
emotional.
That's
Yeah,
what because you have to understand, now we're becoming knowledgeable, we understand more. If you have a physical dimension, you have an energy dimension, we call it the soul. That side never changes. Hardly ever changes. But it's got the amalgamation of, it's like a magnet, you break a magnet to pieces, it still has the same field. So that doesn't break up. That doesn't, we have to live one life, but understand both existence. And when we get to that point, we reach the maturity.
Yes.
That's the most difficult part. It's the same man, he wears the clothes and he comes busting the one company and he wears another clothes and he's a dad in the home. But man, it's the same. Nothing has changed. It's us who sees the boss, or it's us who sees the father in the house. It's a point of observation, observer. And the place, time, and position. In fact, the man is man. It's like as it is.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Shall we call it a day, or do you have one more question?
Well, Mr. Keshe, Lizzie has a hand up here, and I think it's because of this that she would like to. Let me just get it shared properly, I think. Not sure if that came through. About the universal community, let me just allow her to speak. I think that's what she wants to talk about.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Rick. Yes. 2 points. First, thank you, Mr. Page, for you love and knowledge you give us all.
Thank you.
And second, invite all people, all souls. For all the time, you remember to Mr. Keshe, or you remember to the Creator to unify your soul, or elevate all souls. And specifically, invite daily 21 hours in second time for unify your soul with the Universal Council for for achieve the peace. All the time, all souls be part of the soul of the peace and totality. Please unify all the time your soul, but specifically in that moment. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I think this is beautiful what you've done. I think this here is the most, as I said, the war of the religions are over. 2025 will be the first time mankind has a chance to start a peaceful planet. It's the first time when even the religious wars will come to an end, as we saw the nationalistic wars coming to an end. And we'll see, hopefully, the end of those who wanted to be the only one and the head of or whatever. Trump has created that condition. And looking in, the preserving the inside than outside is the next step in the whole structure. Very interesting what you hear in his inauguration is that we have no enemies. We have two oceans on either side, and the others, north and south, is ours, is us. We are created part of from, and we are created to. And this gives us a new insight that, the way I see it, that the time for the end of the wars has come. And as I always said, and if you read my article somewhere, that if we stop making the bombs and making the weapons and making a tool of peace, we'll see that change. But the ground is there, hopefully, if the two major conflicts, religious conflicts, which is with Vatican and the Church of Russia, Moscow, and between the Islamic world and the what we call fake war crimes of what they call Netanyahu, will come to a point that we are ready, humanity is ready to accept the new technology, and with it bring that change, because they'll be so busy with it that there will be no time to do it. It won't happen overnight. It's a slog. There's a lot of work to be done. And at the same time, changing, when you give from your soul to these world leaders, give it in the way that they get enlightened that tool of peace serves better humanity than tool of war. And specifically, pray that our religious leaders open their eyes and they put their, what they call the banner of separation, of name of the Creator, to come to an end. And this is when you meet, especially with the request of the Universal Council, there is something going to happen, and this is needed. The way we did, we brought an end to the wars. Now the religious wars coming to an end, and need this support to enlighten our leaders to a new knowledge, that they leave the old knowledge. I said to some of the powerful world leaders in the past, very recent past, if we develop the technology that makes obsolete the most advanced technology of today, then we have to look for a system. Now is opportunity. We don't make weapons of war. In a very recent past, in a test with the Keshe Foundation, if you remember, this is done outside the military zone. It's done in the hand of the Keshe Foundation. We always spoke about plasma field, which leaves the microchip as a microchip but doesn't function. We saw this for the first time last week, outside, physically observed by scientists, by people who understand the science. By passing a plasma field through a chip in a certain strength, certain way, the chip is intact, but doesn't function what it's supposed to do. And all the latest weapon technologies have this. And if the governments decide to mount on the satellites they launch such a thing that, given the structure of the emotion and information which leads a material, a system, to be weaponized, not to work, we have achieved our peace, and we see the process of peace. In a way, what we said, doesn't matter what more advanced, B-52, F-35, whatever, with a flick of a finger, no microchip works. It falls off the skies. And we have shown this for the first time last week. And it brought me so much joy. And I said to our knowledge seekers, this is the proof of concept. They said, if you take the chip out, it's got 8 legs or 16 legs. We see burn sign. There's no burn sign. We see something else. I said, this is what we always said. And man, even your AI is so much microchip driven that you can, even AI becomes IA, nothing happens. And how our leaders in next few months change and bring an end to the war of religions, as we saw, still trying to, the whole world is running on the back of one man. This wars, these killings in the past 10, 15, 20 years. And when that man comes down, he served his purpose to bring an end to religions. Then we'll see the next step. If there is no war, let's say in Gaza, when there is no Netanyahu to push this and people live for centuries together in harmony, there is no state of Iran or Ayatollahs to defend others. And so by one move of peace, all these people lose their importance. They're just the name. And all the religions, even with the Ukraine and Russia, they're just the name. They're gone. Because the belief of the war changes. And it's the most beautiful time to bring. And even today, change of time is part of the work I do. Sitting with governments, sitting with ambassadors, enlightening them of what is, do we need to? And I ask all your knowledge seekers, in the next few days, we are working on it day and night. A number of knowledge seekers are working in the background in different levels, different ways to bring the world governments not to teach anymore. We deliver technologies that they can see. We had the most beautiful day today. I can even show you a copy of it. That oasis which we saw in the pictures, and even at the beginning, in the intro, that system on its own was tested today. Delivered the energy, delivered the gas, and delivered the water. It's not something we said we are going to do as we've done because technology has to be done. The oasis system is in the hand of the man. And we have to be wise that when we put it out, test is going to be running next few days, a few weeks, will bring the change. The change does not have to come by changing the government in Tehran or changing government in Washington. It comes by giving the technology in the hand of the Africans, in the hand of the third world nation. They see the benefit of it. They pick it up. And then those who think they're in power have no power because there is no need for a power. The condition doesn't come in anymore by going to the strong. It's going to the weak to make the weak to understand they have a beauty and a structure and bring it up that they can enjoy and they can go to the next step. Go to the third world nation, go to the Amazons in Brazil, supposed to be the most advanced nation in South America, but you got in Amazon so many people, poor people. When I put the Oasis out years ago, when I saw today, I sat with our people in the past week, 2 weeks, explain to what is going to happen, what is going to be. Now is time for you to understand the knowledge. We have the Oasis system in our hand today. The water produced, the power measured, the gas is measured. But there's one hidden thing I've hidden in this Oasis system. When you create the system, through it, you have created the energy, you have created the condition for man to elevate his souls and be able to become man of universe and transmute and transform. This oasis which I gave, this oasis which is in our hand, is not anymore for man's physicality. It's an oasis for universal, and is in our hand. And we are not afraid to talk about it. We are not afraid to do it, because our team had to mature to it, and they were matured enough in the past 3-4 weeks, work past 2 or 3 months, to be gifted this such a beautiful technology. The oasis is not just about the water, the energy, and the gas. The oasis in it, the structure of it, is to give energy fields which takes man in the dimension of the soul, and the other side to the dimension of physicality. One day I explain to our knowledge seekers, this system, the purpose of it is not to create gas to burn, is to create the fields of the plasmas which allows man to travel the span of the universe. And that system is in our hand today. It was achieved around early this afternoon. This will bring peace, and we need to elevate the soul of our, what we call, world leaders, as the Universal Council connects to the soul of us, understand our work and understand the time has come. They have made this call, and we respond to it. Thank you very much for today. I have to go into another meeting. Doesn't ever end. And I hope we see the beautiful time of peace and changes with respect of world religious leaders, government leaders, and the rest. Man never had an opportunity as this year, this time, to see the establishment of peace. But we'll see as we change the end of the wars of the nations. Now we see the end of the wars of the religious, and then we can start. Thank you very much.
One quick question, Mr. Keshe, from Dr. Kim Chi. When are we going to upload all of your transcripts into an AI so we can ask it our questions whenever we want? We are ready to do this with your permission, he says.
Yes, but do you think has the essence of the knowledge to give you the right answer? I listened to one of these AIs very recently, and it keeps on talking, I think, about nickel instead of copper.
Yeah. Well, that was combining your technology and comparing it to another one, and it got a little mixed up with that.
So with that, yeah. So it doesn't have the soul to answer you the knowledge, but if you're happy with listening to fairy tales, you're quite welcome.
Well, I can sometimes distill the essence out of something, and it has some great answers when it distills the essence from your books, for example, and actually seems to understand what you're talking about. So, but okay, well, I'll let you work that out with Dr. Kim Chi.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you and goodbye. See you next week.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Okay, so let me get my screens together here. There we go. Okay, well, thank you everybody for being here for the 574th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, January 23rd, 2025. We should be back again next week at the same place, but probably at the earlier time, at the 9 a.m. Time rather than 6 p.m., but we'll see what Mr. Keshe says at that time. Our next public teaching workshop, let me get my calendar up. It'll be the One Planet, One Nation, One Race for Justice and World Peace. That's coming up Tuesday. It'll be the 28th already of January. And that will start at the 4 p.m. Central European Time slot, and with members of the Universal Council who we were speaking about in that previous announcement. Okay, I think that's it for now. We'll go out with our usual way. And again, thank you everybody for being here today. Also, our background image today is from Jedi Simon. It was a new series of images for me to work with. Thank you very much, Jedi.